Hey guys, welcome back. Yeah. What up, weekly?
Yeah, guys. All right, we're here, Ralph. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. How's your weekend?
It was good. I had a pretty tough week, but I was able to kind of just take a break yesterday and today, and it's been good.
That's good.
How
That's
about you?
good. Mine was good. We actually spent some time. We Kim's parents came over and we actually went to a park that's by my house and we had
What?
we actually hung out outside. We were throwing frisbees around and all sorts of stuff. It's actually really nice weather here right now. So dude, honestly, I really needed that. So I'm gonna tell you, Justin, I'm going insane in the house. Insane. But I mean, I know it's necessary. I'm going crazy. I'm
Right.
really, and you know that. You witness it firsthand when I go crazy. So
I have been. It's not a pretty sight, I'll tell you that. So
yeah.
what's our topic today? Because looking at the thumbnail, it looks like we're talking about Star Wars. I'm pretty excited about that, huh?
No. There's no Star Wars. Just
No,
because it says clone consoles doesn't mean Clone Wars. You're no, just relax.
Well, kind of like, if you look at the state of all the consoles that are out there, it kind of reminds me of the Civil War that was happening in episode 2 of Star Wars. Y- you
Dude, you
know?
are such a dork. No, let's please move forward.
All right.
Dork ball
So,
5000
okay.
alert.
So what are we talking about then? If we're talking about mini consoles?
Okay, so the thing is though, Justin, it's like a wide topic, and I'll tell you why. Because before all these mini consoles exist, there were clone consoles for a long time, right? Some of them
Right.
came from China, some of them were coming from At Games, but they're all from China. But like At Games was pushing these things, Genesis, they had Atari, they never did NES, but there's a whole bunch of different ones out there. There was a ton of NES ones. It wasn't until recently that we had like officially licensed
Right.
versions of these mini consoles, but they did exist in some form before. Some of them looking like the original consoles or trying to without the Sega logo, like, or whatever it was, whatever, console they were trying to copy. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember like maybe 4 or 5 Christmases ago, all over every mall you'd go in, there'd be a kiosk with this fake looking NES thing. It might have been, or actually it might have been more recent, but you remember those, right? And it was
Yeah.
like playing all these NES games.
You were like,
Some of
wait,
them,
this ain't legit. Like, what are they
yeah.
doing?
Well,
These
and
are
some of the games they'd weave in. So a lot of the ones coming from China, they'd weave in these BS titles that were like they're home brews. They're like really not legitimate NES games. Or
right.
there's clones of their own games. So it's like multiple versions of the same game, but like slightly
Right.
tweaked. It's just it's been crazy. So like all of this stuff is relatively new. But the cool thing about it is like I think a lot of our audience probably has their original consoles, may even still use them, but some people might not have them anymore. So it's a way for you to like re-experience these things in a different form,
That's
which is
right.
cool. I actually appreciate that element of it.
Yeah. So we might think that it's only been around for a little while because what made, probably what really kicked off the making it ubiquitous is the NES Classic,
Yeah,
right? That
for
came out.
sure.
That I mean, they sold how many millions of them, right?
remember when you couldn't even get them? Remember when you couldn't even get them and like people were scalping them online? I mean, it was crazy the cost of them online.
That's right. So Zohar, thank you so much for the super chat. He says Genesis Mini is the best, especially with Hackchi. I have 200 games on it and I love it. And so we're going to talk about that, like why it's possible to even hack these units comes to the actual hardware that it's running. And I think we have a really good right here. We got all these various consoles, and we're gonna go through it, kind of like how they changed over time and categorize them, and maybe help you understand what exactly you're playing. We're not going to nerd out too much, but I think it's going to be pretty exciting. So, what do you think,
Well,
Ralph?
because I mean, Justin, you said something like we've talked about these mini consoles at length. What's actually inside them, which actually becomes sort of an interesting conversation because I guess we had a conversation a while ago where I was like, why did all of these, and this is not a dig at the company, it's just what they did, because there's a bunch of series of, like, why were all those At Games consoles that were trying to emulate Sega so bad for so long? And then
Right.
all of a sudden they were good. Like it went from, and they are, we'll talk about that. Like they were really bad, really bad, really bad. And all of a sudden it's a shame, but there was this one that they released that was actually good all of a sudden.
Right.
But no one cared because it was almost too late. And then obviously the NES or the M2 did the Genesis Mini. So it was like kind of
Right.
interesting.
So let's take it backwards. So everyone knows about the Legends Ultimate, right? And
By the way, one thing. So Super Dimensional is asking, what's that trash in the middle? You go back to the table cam if you don't mind for a minute,
yeah, yeah,
Justin. I have everything here because the reason why there's a lot of things here, and there's some missing. There's some missing like PlayStation Classic and stuff like that, or PlayStation Mini, whatever it was called. The reason why I have these here is because there's some commonality that you'd be surprised between these consoles. Some are really good and some are really bad, but there's some commonality that we want to talk about. And that's why I brought out like a variety, some that are good and some that are actually pretty bad.
yeah. So I think a really cool way to explain it is if we talk first about the Legends Ultimate, because people are pretty familiar with that guy. So that one's using what we're calling, system on a chip or an embedded Linux system. It's actually running Linux on it. It's a quad core processor made by Rockchip. So if you let's go ahead and point, Ralph, at the Sega Genesis made by At Games.
Sure, this guy right here.
No.
right here.
We're gonna go there, right? So
Yep.
this is actually some of the same architecture that's on the Legends Ultimate. It's just back a few generations. So this is kind of like the Legends Ultimate predecessor. So it's running what's called the Monkey. Was it the Monkey King? Is that what it's called? Which is
Monkey King 3.66. That's right here.
Right, which is basically just a Rockchip rebranded. But this one is the dual core Cortex A7. So this guy can run, Linux on it. So there's an operating system layer, and then there's emulators that run on it. And
the other cool thing, Justin, about this one in particular, this was the first one they had where you could actually update it. So had they have gotten something wrong, like let's say something wasn't working right, they had this SD card slot on the side. I'll point it to you so you can see it. So you could update it. So this was new. They didn't have this before. And it did still have one of the unique features of this console was that you could put a cartridge in it, right? So it does have a cartridge slot that does work.
Yeah, see, so Zohar, check this out, man. This is what we're trying to help you out. Like, a lot of people are giving At Games some hate, but the console that everyone's talking about that they hate from At Games is not the one that Ralph has on the table. This is basically the Legends Ultimate 0.5. It's actually really good, just like a lot of people.
This is the one everyone hated.
Right. It's really confusing because, look, they look similar. Ralph, could you show the difference between them cosmetically?
So everyone hated on this hard. They were like, emulation is still bad. Audio emulation is still bad. Now, the thing that was tricky is these were really released within like maybe a year, around a year of each other. Right. So how you know the good from the bad? It was one little move. See how it says At Games right here on like the top of the Genesis? If I look over at the other one, they moved the At Games logo to this. It's like almost like etched in the actual device. It's kind of like almost burnt in, it looks like. I don't know what you call that when you like etch into plastic like that.
Yeah.
But if you can look, you'll see that's how you can tell. That's the only way you can tell, actually.
They move the logos, right? But there's more to it, right? The better one, we'll call it the better one, actually has an SD card. You can firmware update it. It has a lot of the same features that eventually made it into the Legends Ultimate, right? So that was a feature that At Games clearly wanted to do going forth. And in our community, the Legends Ultimate being firmware updatable is really, really popular. But the mistake that At Games made is their previous version was not firmware updatable. It looks like if you look on the inside, it does have a USB slot on side, but you'd have to take it apart, right? So there's no external way to easily access the first Sega Genesis, and the emulation didn't come out great. They made some mistakes, and they got burned for it. They really got burned for it.
Someone did mention, Super Dimensional mentioned this. I do have this one. It was just I didn't have time to bring it upstairs. There's one that looks like about this big.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that one's terrible too. But we're gonna actually show you that there's some commonality in them because they ran some software that they used to call Firecore. Any of the ones with that Firecore software, you're gonna notice like major. You're going to notice a lot of lag. You're going to notice audio problems on the Genesis. You're also going to notice a lot of screen tearing in certain games. So but the thing is, it hung around for generations because it was all the same stuff. They didn't improve it till way later. They just packaged it differently.
Right.
So you got to give them props for at least like the thing that sucks is it really does suck in a way that At Games, like, okay, they for a long time was really bad, but then they really started to improve. And it's a shame that console, the one that they actually did well, the Genesis one, it was too late because they had already, I guess Sega had already decided to go another way. Now, we don't know all the details behind that, but when Sega decided to do the M2 thing, I think At Games probably could have packaged this, maybe updated the UI a little bit, made it have a little better user interface. People
Yeah,
would have been happy with it, I think.
that's right. And it
But
was unfortunate because if you look at the M2 version, we call that the M2 because they did the emulation, but it's like it's the, what would you call it? The OEM Sega Genesis Mini. And so what this one got right is they didn't get the emulation right. So a lot of people are saying that this thing is fantastic, but if you go look at people that lag tested this, M2's emulation on this system has audio lag. And so if you compare that to like other Sega Genesis emulation that's good, it doesn't have that audio lag. So everyone's giving the Sega Genesis official one great props, but I think it's like Zohar was saying, that's because you can hack it and put a different emulator on it, an emulator that's more popular and that has better quality. And so the hardware itself, I'm not sure what that one is like. I think it's an all-winner, maybe a dual core.
Let me see if I can do it without. Let me see if I can do it off camera because it's really hard for me to see. No, it's something called a Zuki,
Okay.
Zuiki Z7213.
Yeah, but I think it's using there's a trick with HackChi, the way they hack it, they basically put the SoC in a debug mode, and then basically they can write to, they write a fake drive, and then you can start loading your games onto it and tell it to boot to that. And so
I know we're jumping around, Justin, but
yeah,
I did want to show this real quick. So hopefully I can get this in the camera so you can see it. So there are a lot of At Games older systems that actually had this. You'll notice you'll boot it up, and this is the menu system. It'll have like this. It'll say Fire Core on the top left. Almost all these are really bad, but they were also really cheap. Like this device did not cost much.
Yeah.
So I mean, you kind of got what you paid for, but it had some of those like weird, games on it that really didn't make sense why they were on here, but it did have like a decent. I don't know why it's going all the way to. Let me see. Maybe they had the menu different. It's because I'm looking at it backwards, but I don't remember how to get to page 2. I think. See, this is the other thing. They have weird menus where like you have to press different letters to get to different pages. I can't remember. But
so Super Dimensional makes a really good point. He said 99% of the people will never notice or care about the lag. They're just happy to play in HD in those old games.
True.
And yeah, I think it's true. It's partly true. Like it's kind of like this. Like if you get the emulation good enough, no one will really notice. But there are a set of products that get the emulation so bad that the average person does actually go, wait, like it ends up being that cash grab. They buy, they hook it up, they're disappointed, and they're like, oh, I guess that part of my life is over.
This is that device. I mean, this device is terrible. Like it's bad. Like if you even like a casual Sega fan, you'd pick it up and be like, oh man. But the thing is, like if you gave this to a kid, like a little kid, I don't think they'd know. They'd probably have a good time with it. Although your daughter wouldn't, because you've trained her to like be able to detect every single problem in a console. but no, I mean it isn't very good. But I mean, I feel like, do you want to circle back up really quick before we dive in about that game's Legends Ultimate? It actually emulates a lot of systems via Bring Your Own Game really well. But the reason why is because they can put on a good emulator. They put on a good emulator core. They can do whatever they want. Like they recently announced Sega CD support. Well, the Pico emulator has had Sega CD support for a while, and it does it pretty well. So now you can do it on your Legends Ultimate. So it's almost like, since they cracked it open to say, hey, if we have the ability to use whatever emulator we want that's available and working well, then the experience is actually better.
Yeah, that's right. And so if you look at like the 3rd generation arcade 1-up cabinets or the Legends Ultimate itself, it has that baseline that's where it's powerful enough where people can, if they were to sideload games, which is popular among Legends Ultimate, but not popular on the arcade 1-up quad core system that they have, then, it's just like Zohar was talking about with the Sega Genesis Mini. It's powerful enough, the hardware, it's baseline, that if you sideload with HackChi, other emulators like RetroArch and other things, it plays really, really well. But the reason why it plays really, really well is because it's powerful enough to be able to handle what you throw at it.
Super Dimensional is jumping ahead a bit on what we're going to talk about, but I think we should just read this real quick and kind of put this in our brain because park this for a minute. But he says, I feel like once my Mister gets here, I'm going to become an emulation snob. And he's laughing about it. There's some truth to that because
Yeah.
if anybody's ever went out and bought a Mega SG, which
Mm-hmm.
uses FPGA technology, which we'll get
Mm-hmm.
into that. I don't want to get into it too quick, but once you go down that road, it's really hard because if you had a Genesis and loved it, then tried to hook it up to a modern TV but didn't know how to do it, right? So you didn't have a good experience, and then you take that cartridge and put it into a Mega SG, you're like, what the hell? Like it actually looks better than it ever
Yeah.
looked before.
Yep.
Like it blows your mind.
Yep.
So I think some people are quick to go, well, that's an elitist. They spent a lot of money. But I gotta say, like some of these devices, they're worth it. Like if you're a big fan and you want to recreate it, and you plan on logging a lot of hours, you'll be blown away by a thing
Yeah.
like a Mister or a Mega SG, don't you think,
Yeah.
or a Super NT?
Yeah, Lewis brings up. So I did pre-order the Polymega, and the Polymega is yet another category of devices that it's new, right? So let's run into that real quick. Let's categorize so we can all use language that we can understand. So a lot of these units, why don't you point them out? So like the joystick on there, these come
This guy.
These come from the NES on a chip era, right? So once you go ahead and show what that,
Yeah, I'm gonna open it up.
how to detect if a system is a NES on a chip.
So you can't see it here. I gotta flip this over because the chip is actually the chip is on the other side. But
So whenever you see that little circle glob, that's typically either an NES on a chip or one similar to it. So it's actually not
explain that though, Justin. When you say NES on a chip, I feel like I was confused the first time you introduced me to that concept. So because when you say NES on a chip, I think, oh, this must just play NES games. So explain to us a little bit about that because I think that's one of those things I was confused about initially.
So the idea is the chip itself basically has all the units of an NES. It's hardware emulation. So you got to be careful with your language because people are like, oh, hardware emulation is amazing, right? Like an FPGA. Well, technically, this really horrible one is hardware emulation, but it's using what's called an ASIC. And an ASIC itself is not what makes it good or bad. It's the technology that you put into that. And so among the among the FPGAs, you say the emulation is only as bad as the developer putting into it. Or if you have a really, really good developer doing FPGA, then you're going to get really good hardware emulation. But the ASIC is basically once you build that circuitry, they're going to build a chip that is exactly all of those gates and blocks forever. That's it. You can never update it. It's like a chip that emulates other chips, and that's it. And so it has all the same circuits as like, the NES does. But there was a series of other manufacturers, or maybe the same manufacturer, that built a whole bunch of chips that emulate all of these old systems. But they built it like 15 years ago. And so the technology is basically what the technology was 10, 15 years ago, which was composite video. So show them like the Retron HD. That's an example. Yeah. So this is a newer unit, right?
So guys, you remember what you just looked at, right? You remember what you saw in that unit. We're going to crack this open and bam.
You see, it's the NES on a chip. It's that little, they blob some black stuff over it because they don't want you to know exactly how it works or whatever. But it's an ASIC chip, and that thing only outputs composite video. Remember the yellow and white wires back in the day? That's what's coming out of it. So look at it. You see it's got the yellow, white, and red. But how does it do HDMI? See, it has HDMI. Well, they're actually upscaling that. It's going from analog to digital on that second board. And inside there's a really poor quality upscaler. And that's why when you plug that guy in, it's not a great experience. It's because you're upscaling something the source is poor.
Now,
right?
now, for in its defense, these are budget devices. They don't, they don't claim to be awesome, by the way. But to me, if you're someone that's like, hey, I have some NES cards laying around, I'd love to play them for a little bit. But maybe you don't really, you don't want to spend a lot of money. You can buy something like that fairly cheap, and you'll have fun with it. But when you see what it could look like, I think that's when you go, oh man, if you're a super fan, you start to go like, let's say you were going to log some considerable hours on it. I don't think you'd regret a little bit of more money spent if you could afford it.
Right. So let's break it down real quick into these three categories. We'll introduce a fourth soon.
By the way, Stringer Films, thank you for the what's up to you too, and thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that, bud.
Yeah, thank you so much. So go ahead and point out. So the ones that
Hold on, wait a minute, Justin. Hold on.
What?
Lewis has said the most before this episode. Put me back on camera. God damn it! Before this episode, Lewis, I said to Justin, "You should have to come over here and unscrew all these damn things." There were screws flying everywhere, all over my desk, and I was actually like really mad with Justin before we started this. I actually was. He doesn't know this. I was walking downstairs and Kim saw me, and she's, "What's wrong?" I go, "I'm getting mad at Justin right now, and I feel bad."
No, I don't. I told you in the beginning. This is the trick when you start taking apart consoles. You get these little plastic containers, right? You get several of them, and then you just pop them in there.
Damn you, Justin! Damn you!
Whatever. Okay, so let's check this out real quick. So if you take a look at it.
All right, what are we looking at?
Let's not miss Zohar's super chat. Thank you so much, Zohar. He goes, even though the games run better on the Mega SG, the Sega Mini has a better looking UI and a more nostalgic exterior look. Aesthetics is everything. I 100% agree with you, Zohar. And we're going to be talking about that more. So check this out. So once you point out all the ones that are the poor quality composite upscaling, ASICs.
Sure.
So we got the joystick, right?
So you got this guy.
Yep.
You've got this guy. We didn't even talk about this guy, but it's not really fair. This is a really old school one by Hack Games. I just put it on there for reference.
Yeah.
You've got this guy. This guy does have output. You've got
so then you got, now we're moving on to, and then the Retron HD.
Oh, now we're out of, and the Retron HD.
Okay, so those are all really old. It's gonna look really bad. Nowadays, if you got an LCD, it's just gonna look bad. But then you move on to embedded Linux systems, like system on a chip, that are running either a dual core, Cortex ARM chip, or a quad core. And those are the minis that we know and love. Basically, the technology caught up so that you can. It's basically like a Raspberry Pi. It's a similar architecture. And these look really good because they natively do HDMI. Like that's its native output. The system on a chip outputs HDMI digital directly from it. And so naturally, it's gonna look good.
Oops, it lost itself. Sorry, sorry, little buddy.
Yeah. And that brings us into the Arcade 1-Up and the Legends Ultimate phase, because the Legends Ultimate and the sorry, hold on a second. The Legends Ultimate and the Arcade 1-Up use that same hardware as the Mini. They're, 3/4, in the case of Arcade 1-Up, it's a 3/4 scale. They're using that Mini technology where it's an embedded system running Linux operating system, and they throw emulators on there. In the case of Arcade 1-Up, commercial emulators that run, the real ROMs. And then Legends Ultimate, it's kind of a free-for-all these days. You can sideload a lot of things, just like you can do at Hackchi. You can sideload some NES, Super Nintendo.
When you think about it, if we were if we look at like Gen 1, right? So the biggest benefit that someone has with an Hack Games Legends Ultimate, let's say, versus there's a lot of benefits, but versus version 1 Arcade 1-Up,
right?
I don't think that when Arcade 1-Up went version 1, they were focusing a lot on how it would emulate and how it would look,
right.
and if we would have shimmering and if we would have screen tear. Like, they didn't care. It was more of like at the time, I don't think they really cared. Then as they saw adoption raise, people were actually trying to hold them to some standards, they got better at it.
That's right.
But it wasn't like you could go software update those version 1 boards. So, if anything, if you wanted to look at, there was some advantages to Hack Games starting late, because they were probably like, well, let's make it a system that we can actually update, so that if for some reason we had problems with sound or problems with emulation, like someone like Super Dimensional's super anal. If I know Super Dimensional is going to be my audience, I'm going to be like, damn, I better be able to software update this, because he's going to notice pixel shimmering in his seconds.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. With the Legends Ultimate, they already made that mistake with the Sega Genesis Mini that came out in 2017, and they swore to themselves clearly that they would never make that mistake again. So in 2018, when they came out with the version 2 of the Sega Genesis, you could firmware update, and they got that team making firmware updates. And then Legends Ultimate came out, and they're like, we're going to base it on that same architecture where we can firmware update like crazy.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it even
too much, but
but then we're going to make go quad core, so it's going to be even a faster platform. So you got those two categories.
There was
right?
a good point too, Justin. I feel like Super Dimensional is like all over this topic tonight. We have to remember to get to this. Oh, excuse me, I almost did the burp thing. Before the show's over, there is something weird. Some people don't like hacking the mini consoles, and I actually understand why, but I think that's more of like nostalgic feeling kind of thing. But let's park that one because that's a wicked good topic. I want to make sure we get to because I think we were going to talk about that anyway. Unless you
Yeah,
want to talk about it now, we could bust it
let's
out
talk about
now.
it now. We can move
All
around.
right. Okay. All right. Cool. So do you want me to? I'll share
Take
my
the lead on
opinion
this one.
it.
Yeah, go
All
for
right.
it.
So my opinion on it, it's weird. So I have a million ways to play all these games, right? I've got Pandora's boxes. I've got the Legends Ultimate. I've got PCs with Hyperspin and Coin Ops. And so for me, when I get these, I kind of like leaving them alone. I don't like even though I've modded them for the channel for little videos and stuff here and there. I actually like leaving them alone.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a weird thing. I feel like I've ruined it when I mod it. I don't know why. I like leaving it alone. Now, my flip side to that, where I'm going to contradict myself, is if that thing is the only thing you can buy,
Sure.
like it becomes a good basis for an emulation system. So I understand if someone doesn't have the space and like the resources, then you could technically take one of these and make it a end all be all for the most part for retro games, for retro gaming. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I when I bought the NES, Super NES Classic, I didn't mod them. Really, I played them for a while and I thought they were really, really cool. And then I went on to other consoles. It was just one of the many consoles that I bought. I did get into FPGA. I bought the analog NT, the analog mini NT, and the Sega SG, and the Super Nintendo one, the Super NT. All of those are really, really great. And going back to talking about how the downside of the FPGA, emulation's high, quality is really high, but the UI is really low. It's a lot of text-based scrolling through the games, like what Zohar was saying, where, man, like even the new TurboGrafx and PC Engine, where they showed the emulation of it basically shows animation of the CD going in. Like that's a huge advantage.
No, it was cool. Like talking about something that little feature that was for you, Sam. That was probably the dorkiest thing I've ever done on the show, by the way, by just flexing my muscles. But that's funny as hell. No, I agree with you, dude. I feel like that little feature they added pulled on so much nostalgia.
Right.
It literally really did sound like a CD-ROM booting. Like you would lose some of that stuff to potentially. It depends. I know those new mods are reversible and sometimes you can run both at the same time. But that is a really cool thing that they did.
Yeah,
to kind of hook you.
I kind of hope I really hope that AtGames is listening when the community is saying, like, to be completely honest, I'll be like, hey guys, you can take a break from all the functionality for like a month. Just stop with new features and make the UI look prettier. Just spend an entire month just making it look cleaner. Yeah. Add animation, add something, make the UI have shelves like every other console out there. And they're behind the times when it comes to the look. We know their technology can handle it, right? It's a quad-core processor similar to these other chips. But why haven't they spent the time making it look modern? Like it's just something they need to spend the time with. And Zohar is saying UI is so important. And when you're picking the games, you kind of want that. How are they going to do it? Because it's kind of this arcade cabinet. They need to somehow recreate. And I'm sorry, but being able to put your own background in the Legends Ultimate was not a feature
I think that is seriously. I'm sorry. I'm gonna probably piss a bunch of people off. I think it's super lame because what happens is people put these backgrounds on and then the whole look and feel of the GUI looks like ass. It doesn't look good anymore.
You're not a UI designer. And you don't know what a good background would look like against that UI. And I think it was just a patch. They were like, oh, we'll just throw it out there because people are complaining about the UI looking bad. I think they should have made like a whole bunch of like free backgrounds or something that do look good, specifically designed for the Legends Ultimate, and say, here, now you pick, from all the default ones that to make it look better if you want this look or that look. But
I got to call out this. Dude, Super Dimensional's like all over this episode, and I kind of thought he would be from prior comments that he's made on shows and stuff. But he's talking about like the feel it gave him to hear that CD spin when it actually was happening when he had that console probably originally, and what that felt like to recreate that. You know what I mean? Like it's really cool. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, we got a couple super chats. So we thank you so much, Hobby Hands, who says nothing.
He says nothing, but still.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And then Stringer Films, I said it right that time. My first mod was the PS2 boot disc chip. Nice. Yeah, I remember that hack,
Sweet.
right? It was I think they did that in the PS1 as well, right? Where you could do the quick hot swap.
Yeah, there was a
Anyway,
bunch
so
of
it'll allow you to play.
there's a bunch of weird exploits from different consoles of the past. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want to, and I don't want you guys to think I actually really do enjoy the Legends Ultimate. I
Yeah,
actually think it's a pretty cool
we were
device.
talking recently about of any arcade that you can buy. It's got the best sticks out of any of them. You know, it's the sticks. I would say the sticks on the Legends Ultimate are better than the Sanwas that are inside. Um, I don't know what it is.
The
It's this.
Sanwa clones, you mean, not the
No,
real
no.
Sanwas.
Like I have the Marvel superheroes with Sanwa genuines in it.
Huh, and you think it feels better?
Yeah. Well, there's
We're
something
gonna have to
about.
take we're gonna have to take this offline, buddy.
No, no, no. Like it's like got a stronger spring in it or something. The Legends Ultimate is springier.
Uh, so I can't. I'd have to take them both out, but I do think
You
that
should try it.
I'll take them both out because honestly, the Marvel superheroes is in storage right now, so I can't do that. But I will say the sticks and buttons in the Legends Ultimate are actually quite good for
Mhm.
being an out of the box. If I compare them to Arcade One Up, they're much better. They're much better. And that's a testament to they actually, I think, thought to themselves, all right, hey, if this is going to be like this multicade, we got to make sure the controls are pretty good. Yes, there's going to be people that are going to want to change them if they're really into fighting games. They may want to put hapsticks in it or Sanwas if they prefer Sanwas. But actually, they're pretty good. Like I got to give them credit on that.
You should
It's
try it.
actually pretty good.
See what like actually do like the flick test. It'll go back to the center faster on the Legends Ultimate than genuine Sanwas that I have. It could be as simply as the micro switches have a better spring in it or something like that. And maybe the Sanwas are more sensitive, but I'm just with a
Someone's
flick
making
test.
fun of me in the chat for having the best arcade one in storage. I know, but if those of you have been watching the channel, I've been trying to make room for real arcades and for just a couple of the one-ups I want to keep around. So I'm probably going to sell a lot of them, the ones that I have in my storage, and kind of make room for the next gen ones. Because the problem is like I can't literally have a channel where I review arcade one-up stuff and buy every cabinet unless I sell some of the cabinets. Like I would have a house filled with like it's just I can't do that, and I wouldn't be able to feasibly like afford that. So that's a direction I'm going where unless I'm in love with the arcade one-up cabinet, they're more going to be for me to give you guys my opinion of them, and then they move on to the next, kind of next one. I'll keep a small subset of them.
Yeah.
And Classic Kim will throw them out according to Eminem.
All right, let's get to this. Why don't you go ahead, Ralph, with the super chat?
Yeah, all right. Sorry, I was distracted because everyone's making Kim comments that are funny, like that Kim will throw them out. Stringer Films. I don't miss the disc sound before disc read error. Yeah, that's true. That would suck when you had like a dirty disc and you're like, please, a disc that was either dirty or scratched, and you could tell it was like trying so hard to read it, and then it doesn't. Like that was the worst.
Just saying. See, Sam knows what I'm talking about.
Okay. All right. Let me go back. I'm not gonna make any determination until I try it myself, but I want to go back and check that because
Yeah.
maybe that's 100% right.
So let's take a look at it. What we have here, right? Getting back to it, is just the NES on a chip with the glob, and then we got the system on a chip. That's the best we have up till now. But then the FPGAs.
You want me to go get a Mister?
Yeah.
I have a Mister that's close by.
Yeah. Why don't you grab that Mister?
Right.
And so we're going to be talking about the Mister here for a second. So we're kind of going through, and don't worry, there's a fourth category that's coming up that's going to try to bring it all together. That's not NES on a chip. That's not a system on a chip, and it's not FPGA. It's something completely new that will potentially give you the best of best. That's at least what some companies are promising. So with the FPGA that Ralph has here, come on, Ralph.
You prematurely put me on, but
all right.
So we could put it under the other camera if I can't get a good shot at it. But there's your. Let me see if it'll autofocus. It probably won't because of the way I have my camera set up. Let's put it under the desk camera.
Okay, let's do it
for this one.
So this is, it's a development board, is what it really is. This is
So this is called the DE10 Nano. It's
right.
an Intel DE10 Nano.
It's really designed for hardware developers to build an ASIC chip. So let's say that you want to build, you're hired by a company to build a very specific, not a general purpose, but a very specific chip to solve some hardware problem. You would develop it on an FPGA. And so these are gates and circuits that are completely hardware emulated. And so this is the development board. And what's funny about them is you can get them for about $150, but I think they're actually cost more.
Right now, Justin, there's something weird going on with them, and maybe someone in the chat can put this in here. They got really expensive. And by the way, this is the basic model with just the acrylic around it, and it's got an SD RAM upgrade. So the reason why I wanted the SD RAM upgrade is because it allows you to play a wider variety of games. But you can buy these with these legit cases and stuff.
Right.
But because I'm not putting this is something that I play with, and I'm going to be putting it in and out of a rack and stuff, and it's not going to be sitting nice on like a coffee table or something that, like a console. I'm not using it like a console. I'm using it more to just play with and experience. But these are great. I mean,
yeah. So the reason why it's great is, think about it. You're a developer and you want to build an ASIC chip that, hardware emulates some other, you want to build an ASIC chip that's gonna have blocks in it, that do your logic and your circuits or whatever. So you develop it in a language that you can update. It's kind of like flashing the firmware of the FPGA, and it actually causes the FPGA to mimic those exact circuits and logics that you're trying to design. And so that's what the board is made for. That's what the company who makes those are for, developers to build that. But the Mr. team took that, right, and said, well, why don't you go buy those? And we're building the hardware emulators for the FPGA that actually emulates the arcade cabinet, that emulates the Nintendo console. So when they say emulate, it's actually emulating the exact chips inside the arcade cabinet, inside an NES, inside a Sega Genesis, hardware by hardware. And you can keep flashing and taking updates.
Yeah, we actually, so just to put into perspective, I didn't really know about FPGA for gaming for a little while. But we use FPGAs in the products that the company I work for makes. And the reason why we do is because we sell mainly devices that use SSD or NAND, which is like flash memory devices. The thing is, sometimes hardware technology around it changes. So instead of us having to put in a new device every time, we can actually change the logic around it, which is really cool. So if we want it to act a certain way, we can actually flash it versus, having to actually do a hardware upgrade, which is huge if you're a hardware vendor, like someone that actually sells hardware. If you can keep doing upgrades to the existing platform without having to actually have someone buy something new, that's a huge value. Just like that'd be the same as me giving you a console that, like, let's say a gaming console, or kind of like the Legends Ultimate, but different, where I can go, hey, I can keep making this thing better over time to a point, while we're extending the amount of time before you have to make another investment. And that's huge. If you're a gamer, you buy something, you want to enjoy it for a long period of time without having to buy something new. And FPGAs have given a lot of these companies the ability to like continue to upgrade things without actually having to physically hardware upgrade it every so often.
That's right. And so in our case, we can use this hardware. What's great about it is it has HDMI out. So this particular development board is designed for someone to build the circuitries for a video audio system that has HDMI out, which is perfect for hardware emulating an arcade cabinet that you want to plug in to a modern display, right?
Yeah.
So you actually have, and there's a whole bunch of add-ons that are being developed. Like there's a Mr. JAMA coming out, so you can actually connect into the input-output the JAMA connectors, so you can actually potentially
put it in an arcade cabinet.
Put it in an arcade cabinet that already has JAMA support.
The reason why that's so cool is that there's a lot of boards out there, including the 60-in-1, there's Pandora's boxes, there's all these things that people will go and retrofit arcades with. The problem is the emulation for games like Donkey Kong, if you play it the right way, which so many people haven't played Donkey Kong for a long time the right way, if you're not playing it off the original PCB, the sound is better, the movements are better, it's fast, the speed actually matches what the speed the game was intended to play. So one of the best ways to actually recreate Donkey Kong is with an FPGA. So there's just so many, but Zohar brought up a really good comment earlier before you put this one up there, was that the UI, it wasn't that one, but it's okay.
Yeah.
The user interface in a Mister to date right now, no one has like cracked the code on creating like some amazing looking user interface. It's mainly just text. Right. So some people might go, oh, but I'm losing that feeling that I get when I boot up my mini console and it does all that, especially like the new TurboGrafx. If we want to point there, the nostalgic feels are there, where you're not going to get that so much in the menu system. The menu system is going to be just basic,
Right.
unfortunately. So there's that, right? Justin, with all these things, don't you feel like it all comes down to like there's pros and cons of
There's
all of them?
pros
There
and
isn't
cons.
like one. Is there one like end all be all solution? I would argue there really isn't. It's kind of a combination sometimes,
Yeah,
depending on what you want.
I think you're right. It's I think time will tell. I think it's possible that we may get we may get some systems out there because people kind of know what they're looking for, what they want. They want a system that's like, an NES classic that has the really high end UI that looks great. But they also want, pretty good emulation. So
Yeah.
we wanted to talk about the Polymega because this is
damn!
kind of,
I didn't know you were doing this. This you. Oh, can I add something before you even start?
yeah, go for it.
Guess what the light gun is on the Polymofo Mega?
What's that?
It's the Sidon.
Oh yeah, what is it pronounced? Sidon or
Sinden, whatever. Sidon. I call it Sidon. I don't know. But
Okay.
but yeah, so which is really cool. But anyways, we'll get back to that. I'll let Justin go because he's got a lot of knowledge on this.
This is a whole new category. This is not NES on a chip. This is not a system on a chip that's running Linux. This is not an FPGA. Now, when the company first came out, they did say they were going to do hybrid FPGA, and everyone was like, "What the heck does that mean? Is that some marketing term?"
Yeah.
And they just messed up on it. What they wanted to do was basically build a Mister with a UI that looked really good.
They look pretty, yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, "Look, we'll put like some Linux operating system on the front end, but all you're doing is when you pick the game, it's going to load the firmware or the core onto the FPGA really fast and then switch over to the FPGA."
That's
is
really
what they
cool,
wanted
honestly,
to do.
I know, because really, if that actually was what happened, when you really think about it, that's not difficult to do. You're just saying, all right, when you execute the game, you're using Mr. Core, right? Like using one of the Mr. cores, like that'd be pretty easy to do.
Yeah, and they said
but
they were gonna like build their own cores. I don't want to confuse people. They weren't actually gonna use the Mr. Core, but it was gonna be a core, that emulated NES, Super Nintendo, Sega, TurboGrafx, PC Engine, all that stuff. But that's not what they ended up doing. But what they ended up doing was creating a new category. This is a PC. This is different. It's not Linux.
Yeah.
It's a closed system. They said, well, I'm sure someone will probably figure out how to hack it.
Why did they pivot though, Justin? Like, where did the pivot come from? Cost? Because I can imagine cost was probably because they're not doing it the way you explained it, right? They're not going to just call a core an FPGA core at the back end, right?
I heard they lost their developer. That's the rumor I heard. They had a developer that was doing the FPGA hybrid emulation. There was some argument, and he left. And once he left the project, it was hard to replace him, but they replaced him with developers that could do it all, with a PC. So
software, yeah.
this is a custom system, right? That is running Windows underneath. And I guess the processing power on it is pretty high end. So it's I guess compared to like a Raspberry Pi, it's like way better, right? Like I'm trying to find the specs here, but I remember looking at it and it's like, oh, it's gonna blow. It's also like $600 though.
Yeah, that's the killer though.
But also look at what it emulates here.
Yeah, the support is huge.
And then they're doing pretty cool things. I remember reading into it. The reason why they're getting high compatibility, they're not they're not using MAME. They are actually going out to commercial emulators that have support and integrating it onto their system, which we've talked about before, how Arcade 1UP uses Code Mystics, which is a commercial emulator company. Polymega is following that same ideas. They're paying for the license for some of these high-end emulation systems. And I think a few of them maybe were developed by their team.
So Justin, you and I have talked about this before. Like this to me is trying to be, I think we didn't even talk about rehearsing it this way. You did this so great, but the way you flew into this, like this is trying to be that perfect solution to the person that wants everything, right? It's like, I want everything in one console. Now you're going to obviously,
check out the UI here, man.
The UI does look pretty awesome.
So, they got carousels, they got grids, they got, they're going to allow you to do a search, which is what you look at the animations on scrolling. See how they shade the rows. I'm sorry, this is what I do for a living. Is I do UI development for for a pretty big company, right? And this is attention to detail. Look how well this UI is, and when you go into like it as a content detail page, and the whole idea, this thing, everything you're seeing, you don't download ROMs. You actually dump the ROMs. Like, you take a cartridge, it's all legit. You take the cartridge and you like put it in, and then you can dump it onto it's got like, what is it, like a 2 terabyte drive, I want to say.
I'm sorry, Mr. UI developer for a very, very big company. What did you
I don't
say?
know. That came out weird. I don't usually like to say where I work, and I just wanted to
I just love it.
I just wanted to emphasize that that's why I'm geeking out, because literally all day long.
Well, you know, guys, I'm
design.
a UI developer for a extremely large company. I'm just kidding. It didn't sound that way. I'm just being a jerk. It didn't sound that way,
but
dude.
check it out. Imagine, taking all the games that you have in your catalog, CD based or cartridge based, and loading it onto your own system. And maybe someone will hack it so you can sideload games, but you also don't have to. You could just. I have a collection of 100 of my favorite NES games, and I think about 40 of my Super Nintendo games. I'm starting to grow on Sega, and the CD games, are, some of them are expensive, some of them are cheap, but I think I could really enjoy this system. So
Yeah. No, I'm actually looking forward to it. You know what? Actually, I know we're going off topic, but you know what I pre-ordered that I was like, I got all caught up in it. I don't know why, and I don't want to go down this route because I don't feel very well prepared to talk about it. But I actually pre-ordered the Intellivision Amico. I pre-ordered that.
what?
I know, but let's save that for another day, because I think the chat's probably gonna blow up with a whole bunch of comments on that, and I don't want to go there on this episode. But I did pre-order that. I'm interested in it for the sense that I want to treat it like this is supposed to be some new console, but let's not even go there. I don't even go there.
Oh, that's right. This is the one that actually has, like, they're kind of trying to do the Atari thing, right? Where you're like, hey, I know those old games like will only get you so far, so we're building new ones too. And actually, the Atari was a pretty good one, right? Because if it ever eventually comes out, it actually has that same game that you love from the that DVD player that you bought. What was it called? The new one.
Oh, the new one, yeah.
It doesn't.
Wait, what
have,
does? No.
I thought it has Tempest 3000.
It's not
right?
3000. No, 3000 was only on the new one. Yeah. And then,
so is it like Tempest 4000 or something like that?
4000 is very similar anyway. So like a lot of people were like beating me up on that. They're like, I can't believe you did all that to play Tempest 3000. But it wasn't about that. It was about going back to some of the things that people had said. I had an experience where I went to Circuit City, bought this goofy DVD player because some guy convinced me to. And he's like, yeah, play his games. And the first game I put in it was that Tempest 3000. I was like, dude, what the hell? This is cool. Like, it was at that time period, Tempest 3000 looked badass. And the soundtrack was so cool. So if you never saw that live stream I did on it, it's pretty neat. And then we even explored some of the other games in the catalog. After I troubleshooted, it was funny. The episode, people would help me troubleshoot it because it was having some issues. But yeah, no, super fun. Like, I love that. The Amico is a whole different thing. We'll have to talk about it. I think it'd be good for us to do a deep dive on the Amico and how we feel about it, because I feel like it's being talked about a lot online right now.
All right. So to wrap up this topic, out of all of the mini consoles, I'm sure that many of you have bought many of the consoles. Why don't you go ahead and give us a one or two word chat? Which one was your favorite? Like, did you really, really love the NES Classic, the Super Nintendo Classic? Any of the ACK games, old ones? Does anyone have that second version of their Sega Genesis that actually takes carts and emulates really, really well? Or did you like the Sega Genesis Mini? Are you liking to hack cheat it up on any of these consoles? Did you absolutely, like the rest of us, die and love the Sony PlayStation Classic? Not. That was a real disappointment. I was really excited about the
dude. I know the PlayStation Classic really bummed me out. Like,
really
I was
did.
actually really excited about. Like, that one just pisses me. It's a great emulation device if you want to then load emulators on it and hack it. And the easiest way to hack it to me is the Mod My Classic website. Like, they've got a lot of resources to do it super simple. But the thing is, like, that was a really big bummer. Like, Sega had the opportunity, or Sony had the opportunity to do something really special with that. It was so generic. It had no soul. It was like, cool, we're gonna release this, and we don't. To me, someone at Sony has to have gotten fired for that, because they took something that could have been this awesome opportunity and kind of poo-pooed on it and released something crappy. It's really unfortunate.
So Inspired Imagining LLC said the Atari 2600. Brandon, with the SNES because it has Star Fox 2. That was also really cool that they released that.
That was actually really cool. That's cool when they go and do. You know what else is a super trend in gaming right now that I love? Have you seen where like they'll release a retro game or a modern game and they'll have like the retro version of it be like interchangeable with the game? So they're doing that with Streets of Rage 4. You're going to be able to play with the old music. Dude, Streets of Rage 4 looks awesome. I'm so excited actually. And we're going to figure out because on that day, I don't care if I have to take the day off of work, and I know I'm going off topic, is I am streaming Streets of Rage 4 that day. I don't even care. I'll stream it for hours, even if there's like two people
you guys
online.
gonna join us? We're gonna do an all day stream or something like that. So we got more kudos to the Super Nintendo Mini, the Mini and the Sega Mini. Yep, Zohar says the NES Mini was good. Genesis Mini is amazing. Yeah, I'll have to check out the build that you're doing.
Prue, heck yeah, baby. Streets of Rage 4.
Dude, what we got? I'm sorry, I like lost a whole bunch. Okay, so we got Drifter.
Sorry, I got to give Paul some credit.
I'm taking it back.
Hey, no.
We're going down. We'll get there eventually, Ralph.
All right, fine. So I just want Paul. Paul's from my hometown. We grew up together. I need to give Paul some love.
Okay, we'll give Paul some love. Let's read through these. You can read faster than me. Why don't you read them?
Drifter NES Classic. NES Classic was great, but the controllers were short. Agreed.
Yeah,
actually, I did a video on that no one watched. SNES Classic got it right and was an overall great buy. I agree. SNES Classic was awesome. I love that. I actually travel with one in my bag usually, so I have one in my bag with a little Elgato capture card if I want to stream something. I love the SNES Classic.
So
I'm
CT
right there with
PlayStation
you.
Classic sucks so bad. It was like $20 for clearance. That's right. I think I have actually like 2 of them because like a Walmart had it for like $5. So I was like, why not?
I know I bought a second one too, and I don't know why. Dude. First of all, Michael B, the Game Genie, pretty cool. A Canadian joining the show. Actually, we have several Canadian viewers. So, and Michael actually has a YouTube channel as well. So definitely check that out.
Only I really ever knew the NES Classic until I started following RetroRalph.
RetroRalph. I'm just kidding. Sup, Paul?
He was replying to somebody. So then we got the mod. Sam modded both the NES and SNES.
Flashed it back to normal. Nice.
Funny.
With the face. I love that emoji, by the way.
You got to do Zohar now.
Nothing beats the huge, ugly Genesis 3-button controller. I love it. It's true. They did a good job with that Genesis controller they threw in with the Sega Mini. That was pretty cool.
And this is pretty cool. Jay Jones says he loves his PS Classic because he uses it like a pie in his 1-up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just curious, actually, put that comment back up real quick. I'm curious, what USB encoder are you using with your PS Classic? I'm going to guess you're using a zero delay one, but I might be wrong. So let us know. That's actually pretty cool because if someone else wants to do that in a arcade 1-up or something, it might be cool to know what USB encoder you're using.
That's right. Let's see, I got the PlayStation Classic Cleric for like $15 and modded it. Super Dimensional. At least we got the hardware right on the PS Minis. Yeah, luckily that worked out pretty good.
You know what someone mentioned in the chat and what I think is next, dude. We talked about this before, you and I. The next thing that if they want to just go nostalgia crazy, if they want to take everyone on this, everyone that watches our show and basically anyone that's about our age and just capture them with one device, make a solid, really awesome N64 Mini.
Oh man.
And you've got everyone on here will buy one, guaranteed. I guarantee you. They would, as long as the game, pick the right games, don't screw up on the game list, people would buy the crap out of that. I know it.
So I was thinking
yeah.
Back in the day, I talked to my buddy and I was like, okay, so here's the thing about the N64 Mini, if they ever do it. The controller would be bigger than the Mini itself. So there's like shipping issues, right? Like
what,
you know what I mean?
N64?
Like, hey, we're going to put it in a box. You open up the box, you got this gigantic controller and this tiny console. It's like, oh, we're spending so much money on the box just to ship the gigantic controller.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. Maybe they could somehow make like a, I don't know, like a
Sam
says version of it.
The N64 Mini with online capabilities. Yes.
Boom.
Yep. Imagine that.
That'd be awesome. I think one of those things. So one thing that would be really cool, and this might be the evolution of these mini consoles. Like all of these companies are offering these like unlockable things, like hold select here or press down and then select the game, and you'll get another game available to you. But what do you think it would be like if they just made them online enabled and you could buy packs of games? I would probably do that.
So kind of like the Switch Classic, but without the Switch. So you get like
let me buy packs. I would actually do that to keep it stock. If someone said that, I want to support. I know I do some videos that are questionable on the channel. I legitimately want to support the people that made the games. I do. Like in most of the thing, what?
Zohar with this Virtual Boy Mini.
You know, it's really funny. Chris Guizot, who does the Ralph's Retrospect, he loves the Virtual Boy. I think it had some fans here and there. I don't feel like I ever really gave it a fair chance. But also, there's a lot of things that break in those over time. You need to like update them, and he did like a bunch of fixes to it, and he says he really enjoys it. So I don't know. I'll have to. Would you buy a Jaguar Mini? The Jaguar is one of those systems, man. I don't know. I don't know why I don't have any love for the Jaguar. I don't know. Maybe it was just because it was super expensive. It seemed unattainable, and even in my like later years where I had money, I don't know. I didn't want to do it. Do you guys want, if they had a Jaguar Mini, like I don't feel like when I talk to people about retro gaming, I don't see a lot of people like screaming from the mountaintops on the Atari Jaguar. That's an interesting question, dude. You bring up a really interesting topic.
Yeah. I think
Chris did mention it. This is what you needed to do. I have no idea so I have ribbons, hard solder. So I knew, Chris, there was something to your Virtual Boy experience.
Yeah, I did.
I gotta agree with this, dude. The Jaguar controller. What the hell? It was like an old grandma telephone or something. Like you could it reminded me of a telephone where you remember those old phones that you could put on your desk and you could actually write in the names of people.
Oh yeah.
I expect you to be able to hit the button to call people.
Yeah.
Like, dude, Zohar, you're all on that one.
The speed
Zohar,
dial.
by the way, Zohar's like between Zohar. I gotta give there's some notable like really solid chat going on. Like Zohar's busting out some really good stuff. We got
I think Zohar's happy about something. I think that's why it is.
Super Dimensional's busting out stuff. Like everyone is like, I'm only naming a few, but
Sega Dreamcast Mini.
Oh well, that would just every single person would buy a Sega.
This thing. The Nintendo needs to do a Game Boy Mini. So I was yes, that could. A lot of people were talking about that. Like that could work. Like because we see the Game Boy clones are out there, right? Like you can get the what is it? The flag case. I have one of those. It's the
retro flag. Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah,
those are cool because of the shutdown. Those are cool because when you put a pie in them, they have the shutdown script. That actually is pretty cool. Like if you wanted to build your own, those are cool.
Yeah. So eventually, it would be cool if Nintendo actually said, "Okay, we will do that. You know, we'll do it justice. We'll do it right, and we'll license games on it, and it would be pretty sweet."
What would you guys do? Here's something crazy. What if a lot of people ask Arcade 1-Up to make Donkey Kongs and all sorts of Nintendo-based arcade games. If Nintendo themselves said, I'm going to make I'm not going to license to 1-Up. I won't do it. What if Nintendo's like, screw them. I'm not doing it. But they go, but we are going to do it. We're going to create our own, the officially looking like a mini version. Let's say it's like a little taller than a 1-Up, or let's go even further. Let's say it's the size of a Legends Ultimate, but the actual shape of a real Nintendo cabinet.
Right, just like take the Nintendo cabinet and then like cut it slimline a little bit.
Yeah, slimline it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's not quite the same.
Yeah. The Play Choice 10 Mini.
Well, that'd be really cool. But that'd be cool if it was this. If it'd be. Wait, that's funny. But no, but seriously, like, wouldn't you guys buy like a legit looking Donkey Kong cabinet?
Oh,
it was shaped the way the Nintendo cabinet was shaped.
Blow away every other title that Arcade 1-Up has ever came out with, to be honest. Donkey Kong is such a huge title.
I know. It's so weird because Donkey Kong is hard as shit when you really like you really think about it. If you start logging some time in Donkey Kong, it's like, whoa, Donkey Kong was hard. It gives you like a wicked respect for like guys like, even though everyone says he cheats, but I don't know, whatever. What's his name?
Yeah.
The dude with the long hair. I always forget his name. You know what I'm talking about, right? Billy Mitchell. Yeah. Actually, it's funny. Dude, I gotta tell you this really quick. I know I'm all over the place. I think because I had caffeine and now it's kicked in, so I'm like, yeah, Justin, yeah.
We gotta do a 1-Up Mini.
We're doing a 1-Up Mini where we shrink Justin and I.
No, I think he meant Arcade 1-Up Mini, not our show.
I don't even know what I'm talking about right now.
Pocket size. We should do 1-Up Mini episodes. That'd be kind of cool. It's actually not a bad idea. 1-Up Mini episodes, mini, small episodes from you and I next week
One Up Mini
that are like Quibi size or something.
One Up Weekly Mini. I don't know if that
Whatever.
name sound. I mean, I like the idea. We've kind of done it a couple. Technically the episode where I discharged the CRT was like one of those special episodes. Yeah, Steve Wiebe. I love that. Is it Fistful of Donkey? I can't remember the name of the documentary. If someone remembers the name of the documentary, if you've never seen it, it's actually pretty awesome. Where you see Billy Mitchell go up against the Steve Wiebe guy. It's really cool, and it kept my attention the whole movie. Regardless of if the guy is officially a cheater or not, I don't know, but talk about a character, man. That guy's got a crazy personality. I mean, I can't tell if it's an act or if it's really how he is. It's pretty funny.
All right.
Oh, thanks, Mike, for the CRT. Yeah, King of Kong. He also said he loved the CRT episode, which is really cool. That, just so you know, that was all like pretty much legitimately my real reactions to everything. I mean, I actually had told Justin before. I'm like, I don't know if I can even go through with it, because I'll tell you guys this really quick, and then I swear we'll end the show. But before Justin and I were going to do that episode, I was watching all these videos on how to discharge a CRT. But there was one where the guy was playing a prank. But he was a guy that legitimately shows how to discharge CRTs. So he has this thing where he brings in the screwdriver really close, and then you hear the zap, and then he like blows back, and there's a huge spark, and he's like, oh, and then he tells you he's joking after, but for some reason it sat in my mind as that was really going to happen to me. And so I was just like, I don't know. I was so stressed out. There was a bunch of fear in my mind because of that. But anyways.
All right.
Zohar did mention another something else that's pretty valuable too.
What's
he
that?
mentioned the Insert Coin documentary. I don't know when that's coming out, but that's going to be an awesome one because that focuses on Midway and Williams and the sort of what happened there. It's a really that's going to probably be an awesome one that we'll want to promote the heck out of when it comes time when that's coming out.
Yeah. It's funny. People keep on talking about that. I need to like wail and
Thanks, Michael.
do a lead, but I don't know. I'm just not feeling it tonight.
What?
They want me to rock out, but I'm just not.
I do. I want you to rock out.
I'm not really feeling it.
Why?
I think, okay, so right now our system says that we have 142 people watching, and I have a feeling once they start playing our outro song, that number is just gonna plummet. It'd be really cool if the number went up. It'd make me feel better. I don't know, hit that like button or something. It might be guitar time. I did, Ralph, I'm gonna play a song, okay? Everyone's going to hate it. But watch Ralph while I play it. Watch his face. Watch Ralph's face.
I hate when he does
while
this
I
stuff
play
that I
it.
don't know about.
Because
I really hate it.
I'm doing this corny song so that when I watch this show back, I can watch Ralph's face. And I think that will be awesome. Like, I went and found the worst song that I could perform for Ralph.
How about this? If you perform it, can you then make everyone be tortured through whatever it is that you're saying you're going to do, but then make everyone happy by doing rocking out afterwards?
Maybe. Okay. So here we go.
Come on.
Okay. So it's really corny, okay? It's not shredding, it's not heavy.
Oh, you're really scaring me right now.
It's really corny. Well, I think it would be nice if I could touch your body. I know not everybody has got a body like Ralph, but I gotta think twice before I give my heart away. I know all the games he plays, cause I play them too.
This is really
but
weird.
I need some time off of that emotion. Time to pick my heart up off the floor. Oh, baby, now love comes down without devotion. Cause I take, come on, scream it with me. Take us on, baby, but I'm showing you the door. But I gotta have. Yeah, we lost 10 people. Sorry, guys.
You lost like 30. You lost like 30 people.
Oh man,
it's really creepy,
everyone's
though.
like,
that was kind of creepy.
So out.
Why do you want to touch my body? That's gross.
I
hugged and.
I didn't actually like mean it that way.
Oh, what way do you mean it?
I was just like, playing the song because it's a creepy. Yeah, I guess I could see how it could go that way.
Yeah, it was coming over weird. All right, guys, what can Justin do to recuperate to come back from that, please? Have someone do something. And it can't be closing time.
I got
the only touching we did was in Vegas when we gave the hug, and it was only because you guys said that we had to.
Yeah, Max, he's right. Justin explaining it made it worse. I just thought
it made it way worse.
Like a really corny song, and
everyone asks for Freebird a lot. Like a lot. It comes up a lot.
I think Freebird is just the song.
This is my reaction exactly. CT, that is my reaction exactly. Puking face emoji.
I think it's time for final thoughts, right? Let's do final thoughts, Ralph.
Yeah, sorry.
If you guys don't know, my favorite show of all time is The Office, and so cringe is funny sometimes, but maybe only for me. All right, Ralph.
All right,
what did we talk about today?
Hey guys, it's Final Thoughts time. So today we talked about this whole entire thing, which is mini consoles. We started with these poor emulation devices, and over time, people realized, wow, there are people that actually want to play this shit. And so the companies got wise, and some of them decided to do cash grabs, but for the most part, they actually gave us some pretty awesome devices which pulled on our nostalgic heartstrings. We know that Justin knows ridiculous things about the insides of these units that most of us don't give a rat's ass about. But you hung out with us for almost an hour, so that was pretty cool. And I think we all learned a little something together. We learned that we love to game. We learned that we love to play, and I didn't rehearse any of this part. Okay, I don't know. Okay, the end got really bad. I was doing all right till you got heavy. I couldn't do it. I didn't know what to say.
What's beautiful about these endings is we don't rehearse them at all.
Yeah, Justin will tell me, like, sometimes he'll even say he's going to do something and he does the complete opposite. So which is totally messed up on his part. But
I know how I can win it all back for Ralph because he really likes. Let's do it.
I love this little riff. Yeah, one up Wiggly.
All right, thanks guys.
All right, thanks guys.
On the next one.
Thanks guys. Have a good one. Stay safe and wash your hands.
Yeah, like you said.
That was really lame, Justin.
I know.
We should go.
We should.
Why are we talking like this?
I don't know. In
this
a world.
Is stupid. You want to touch my body? That's really weird.
I don't really want to.
Bye.